Do you know someone whose mind refuses to be quiet? Someone who closes their eyes at night, hoping for rest, but instead hears an entire universe of noise. Memories from years ago, mistakes that cannot be changed, conversations that ended long ago, but still echo, fears about the future that hasn't even arrived. Maybe you've had nights where your body was tired, but your mind was wide awake, running faster than you could breathe. Maybe you've sat in silence only to realize it wasn't silent at all. It was filled with your own voice, arguing, worrying, doubting, replaying every moment where you felt not enough. Maybe you've tried all the usual advice. Just relax. Just clear your mind. Just let go. Advice that sounds easy but feels impossible when your thoughts behave like a storm that refuses to obey. And deep down you've wondered, why can't I control my own mind? Why does it feel like my thoughts control me? But what if the problem is not your mind, but the method you've been using? What if the world has been teaching meditation incorrectly for hundreds of years? What if true mental silence was never about fighting thoughts, but about understanding them the way ancient warriors did? Because the samurai lived in constant danger. Every sunrise could be their last. One mistake, one moment of fear, one panic thought could cost their life. And yet they walked into battle with a mind as still as a sleeping lake. How they used a technique so profound, so deeply psychological that only elite warriors were allowed to learn it. A technique that could silence fear, erase hesitation, and bring total clarity in the middle of chaos. They called it Mushin no Shin, the mind without mind, a state where thought disappears and only presence remains. Today you will learn the first steps into that world. A path once reserved for warriors is now opening for you. Before we go deeper, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself a question. One that most people never ask. What is the one thought that keeps returning to you no matter how hard you try to silence it? Is it a guilt from the past? A fear about the future? A voice telling you that you're not enough? Something you wish you could forget but can't? Tell me in the comments, what thought do you wish you could silence forever? Because when you write it, you're not confessing a weakness. You're taking the first step toward freeing yourself from it. And if you want more content on Japanese warrior psychology, ancient mental discipline, and the systems used by samurai, monks, and philosophers to build unshakable inner strength, now let us begin the journey toward silence. Not for the numbers. Chapter 1, but when the mind becomes I know how many people live trapped inside their own minds with no map, samurai training in the quiet mist-covered mountains of Nar. This video said he had talent, and the path everyone believed he would rise faster than the others. His instructors praised his thoughts forever, his balance, his potential. But Akira carried a secret inside him, a secret that no one could see, but that consumed him every time he held a sword. His mind was louder than his blade. During training, while other students moved fluidly, Akira battled an invisible opponent, the endless noise in his own head. What if I miss the strike? What if sensei is disappointed? What if the others are better? What if I'm not made for this life? Every doubt felt like a hand pulling him backward. Every fear felt like a whisper telling him he wasn't enough. And every time his thoughts grew loud, hesitation took over. A half-second pause, a momentary tremble in his grip, and his opponent's wooden blade found his ribs, his shoulder, or his neck. Not because he lacked skill, but because he lacked quiet in the dojo. He looked like a warrior. Inside, he felt like a prisoner. One evening, when training finished, and the others laughed while cleaning their armor, Akira sat under a cedar tree at the edge of the courtyard. The night was calm, but his mind was not. His fingers shook. His breathing was uneven. His heart felt heavy, like he was carrying a weight no one else could see. He whispered into the darkness, "Why won't my mind stop?" He pressed his palms together, trying to silence the thoughts, trying to force stillness the way others force strength into their muscles. But the more he fought his thoughts, the louder they became, like striking a drum clears throat and expecting silence. That night, the sky was full of stars, but Akiro felt trapped inside a storm that existed only in his head. He hated that no matter how hard he trained, the battlefield inside his mind was always one step ahead of him. He hated feeling fear in a place where courage was expected. He hated feeling weak in a place where warriors were forged. But more than anything, he hated feeling alone. What Akiro didn't know was that someone had been watching him silently. Someone who had once fought the same inner battle. Someone who understood the noise inside a warrior's mind better than anyone alive. A man the students only whispered about. A man who appeared rarely, spoke little, and carried a presence so still that even the wind seemed to quiet around him. That night, as Akiro stared at the ground in defeat, a shadow moved behind him, and the teacher who had mastered silence decided it was time to teach Akiro how to fight the enemy that lived within. Chapter 2. The Master Who Spoke in Silence. Akiro felt the presence before he heard the footsteps. The air shifted, subtle, but unmistakable, as if the world itself paused to acknowledge someone entering it. When he turned, he saw an elderly man in simple gray robes, hands folded behind his back, eyes calm like the surface of still water. Master Ryoan, a legend in the dojo. Some said he once fought 10 bandits alone. Some said he could sleep with his eyes open. Some said he had achieved Mushin, the mind without mind. But no one truly knew because Master Ryoan rarely spoke. He lowered himself next to Akiro without a sound, as if gravity respected him too much to pull at his body. For a long time, he didn't say a word. Akiro kept his eyes on the ground, embarrassed that a master of such depth had found him in such a fragile moment. The silence grew heavier the longer it lasted, not uncomfortable, but intentional, as if the silence itself were teaching him something. Finally, Master Ryoshin exhaled slowly. "You are not losing because your sword is weak," he said quietly. "You are losing because your mind is loud." Akiro's chest tightened. He had never told anyone about the noise in his head, yet this old man had seen through him with just a single glance. How do I silence it?" Akiro asked, voice trembling. Ryoshin did not look at him. Instead, he picked up a fallen leaf, turning it gently between his fingers. "You are trying to fight your thoughts," the master said. "But fighting your mind is like throwing stones into a pond and expecting the water to become still." He let the leaf fall. It drifted slowly, peacefully, until it touched the ground without a sound. Akiro watched it, confused, yet mesmerized. The master continued, "Your thoughts are not enemies. They are clouds passing through the sky. They appear, they drift, they disappear. You are the sky, Akiro, not the clouds." For the first time, Akiro felt something inside him loosen, like a knot that had been pulled tight for years, finally beginning to unravel. "But master," he whispered, "every time I try to calm myself, the thoughts only grow louder." Ryoshin nodded. "Of course they do, because you try to command the mind instead of understanding it." He tapped gently on Aro's chest. "Quietness is not achieved through force. It is achieved through training, through discipline, through Mushin." Akira swallowed. Mushin, the warrior's empty mind. The master's gaze drifted toward the moonlit mountains. Yes, the mind that does not cling. The mind that does not fear. The mind that moves as effortlessly as the body. Then Ryoshin stood slowly, turning toward the bamboo forest. "Tomorrow at dawn," he said without looking back, "you will meet me at the eastern clearing. If you truly wish to silence your mind, prepare yourself." He paused. "The training will not be easy because you are not fighting the world, Akira." He glanced over his shoulder. "You are fighting the men you have been your entire life." And with that, he walked away, leaving Akira alone under the silent sky. But for the first time in years, the silence felt like a friend. Chapter 3. The First Breaking of the Ego. The next morning, before the sun had even touched the edges of the mountains, Akira arrived at the eastern clearing. Mist curled around the bamboo trunks, and the air carried that cold metallic quiet that exists just before dawn. Master Ryoshin was already there, kneeling on a flat stone, eyes closed, breathing so softly that he seemed carved from the same stillness around him. Akira bowed. I'm ready, master. Ryushin opened his eyes slowly as if returning from another world. No, he said gently. You are not ready, but you are here, and that is enough. He motioned for Akira to sit. The young warrior lowered himself onto the cold ground, ready for instructions. A breathing technique, a meditation ritual, perhaps a kata to control his thoughts. Instead, the master said, "Hold your sword." Akira obeyed. He gripped the hilt firmly. "Now," Ryushin said, "raise it above your head." Akira lifted the blade. "Lower it." Akira lowered it again. He raised it again. He lowered it over and over. The same movement, the same breath, the same rhythm. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Akira's wrists began to ache. His shoulders burned. His breath turned heavy. "Master," he said, "what does this have to do with Mushin?" Ryushin did not answer. He simply raised his hand again. Akira lifted the sword again. He lowered it. The repetition became painful, not physically, but mentally. The mind hates simplicity. It despises stillness. It rebels against silence. Frustration began to claw at Akira's chest. His thoughts grew louder, shouting at him. "This is pointless. I should be training real techniques. I'm wasting time. Why is he doing this to me?" His breath turned ragged. He lowered the sword to fast and the tip struck the ground. Ryushin finally spoke. "There," he said softly. "Do you see it?" Akira frowned. "See what?" "That voice screaming inside you." Akira froze. "That voice," Ryushin said, "is your true opponent." He stood and walked behind Akira. "Your mind is addicted to noise, addicted to chaos, addicted to movement. So when I gave it simplicity, it panicked." Akira swallowed. Ryushin placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is the first breaking of the ego. The moment you realize you do not control your mind controls you." The swordmaster stepped in front of him. "Mushin is not about emptying the mind," he said. "It is about noticing the noise and choosing not to obey it." He tapped Akira's temple again. Akira lifted the sword, but this time he understood what the training really was. Not a test of muscle, a test of inner stillness. A test of whether his mind could endure simplicity without collapsing into chaos. As the sun rose behind the mountains and the clearing filled with golden light, Akira continued lifting the sword. Not because the master demanded it, but because something deep inside him wanted to face the storm within. And for the first time in his life, he felt the faintest ripple of quiet beneath the shouting of his thoughts. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was there, a seed of stillness beginning to grow.